So with that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to Lindsay, who's the Director of Program Operations and Relations at Gilda's Club. So Lindsay, let's start with a brief history of Gilda's Club here in Grand Rapids. How did it come into existence, and how has it evolved since then?
Thank you, Laura, and thank you, Carrie and Greg, for sharing from your hearts of your profession and your personal experiences. That really speaks to the importance of this topic that we're here to talk about today and learn about and have open conversation around. Speaking of resources, we here in West Michigan, we're very blessed and very lucky to have Gilda's Club Grand Rapids. And I don't know if you want to raise your hand if you've heard of Gilda's Club at all. A lot of people, that's wonderful. And so Gilda's Club, we're in our 22nd year of operation here in West Michigan. And this started because of an idea and a vision that Gilda Radner had. You could also raise your hand if you know about Gilda Radner. We got to laugh when we hear about her. She was so funny. She was a comedian, as many of you know. And Gilda, in her experience with her cancer, she had ovarian cancer. And she lived in LA, she lived in New York, being a famous comedian. And in LA, she had something called a wellness community, where she had a therapist, Joanna Bull, and others who were also diagnosed with cancer that she would talk with and be with. And she felt heard, she felt understood. She's like, I'm not crazy, this is normal, given my experiences. A lot of what Greg and Carrie have already shared of just really normalizing the experiences of being human and going through some difficult things. And for Gilda, that was her ovarian cancer. And so she really found that in New York, there wasn't something like that at the time. So it was her dream and vision to have a Gilda's Club in New York. And her therapist from the wellness community in LA, Joanna Bull, and her husband, Gene Wilder, who you may remember as well, they started Gilda's Club in New York, and then we have expanded from there. And there's about 44 network partners of Gilda's Clubs and cancer support communities in our nation and a couple in Canada. We're really lucky to have Gilda's Club Grand Rapids. It's one of the largest and busiest Gilda's Clubs of all of them. And that's really because of our community. Because of the community here being 100% charitably funded Gilda's Club, it's because of the community that we're able to have the support that we do. 80% is volunteer support. So that's an opportunity to think about as well. You know, as you learn a little bit more today, 80% of Gilda's Club is volunteer supported. So those are huge pieces of how Gilda's Club functions. We had 3 ladies here in West Michigan who helped to begin the Gilda's Club in Grand Rapids. Twink Fry, Deb Smith, and Deb Bailey, and Susan Smith. And they heard about Gilda's Club happening in New York and said, we need this here in West Michigan. So we are very lucky to have this. So what it is, and many of you know, it's a free cancer and grief support community. So all that we offer at Gilda's Club is completely free. There's no charge for membership of any kind, and it's a very supportive environment. This conversation today is a very hard conversation. It's difficult, it's challenging. It makes us think in different ways that can be uncomfortable. We call Gilda's Club, it's the club nobody wants to belong to. You know, nobody wants to have to come to Gilda's Club because everybody's there. We're all there because of cancer in our lives, or someone we know has cancer of any type, or we know someone who's died from any cause of death. So that could have been cancer related, it could have been a suicide, it could have been homicide, it could have been a car accident. That's what's bringing people to Gilda's Club, for the grief support. And we are unique in offering the grief support here in West Michigan at our Gilda's Club. So that is really something very special that came out of the community of people wanting grief support here and wanting to have that ability to connect with others. And we have the full range of ages, so babies on up over at Gilda's Club. For support, we have grief support, which can be very, very helpful when that time comes. A lot of like what Greg, you were saying with the anticipatory grief, you know, that's a very real process. And thank you for honoring that and acknowledging that and naming that here today, because that's such an important part of that process that we do go through. And our grief support is for anyone who knows someone who's died from any cause of death. All master level professionally led support groups. So all of our staff who are leading the support groups have a master's degree, many social workers, master level, counselors, master level, who are helping to create that environment of that sense of community so people aren't feeling so alone in their grief or their cancer.
So Lindsay, I know now that I've learned a little bit more about Gilda's Club that, I knew about the death support, but you guys are so much more than that. At what point do you generally meet families for the first time? Under what circumstances, in terms of when they're newly diagnosed or shortly after a death, or is there a typical time?
That's a great question, Laura, and it really speaks to this grief process that it's so individualized. So at Gilda's Club, we have members that come in right when they were diagnosed, up the medical mile, and they come in and say, I was just diagnosed with cancer, or my person was just diagnosed with cancer, what do I do now? Or they come in when someone has just died. They just died a few days ago, and they're here for grief support. We have members that come in that it's been months, it's been years since their diagnosis or since their person died, and now they're ready to come in and unpack what that experience has been like, that emotional, social support. They're now ready for that. And so it really varies, and honoring, a lot of that grief process is helping ourselves honor our own process of our own time frame, and knowing that my time frame might look very different from the person sitting right next to me, their time frame of when the grief support is right for them or what grief they're going through, and just honoring ourselves in that process. So that is one of the beauty of the philosophy of Gilda's Club, is that you can come in at any point in your grief journey or your cancer journey.
Great. Now, when I had the opportunity a little over a year ago to tour Gilda's Club here in Grand Rapids for the first time, I was just so impressed. I mean, it's absolutely a beautiful facility and just so welcoming in every way. Can you tell us a little bit about the things that actually go on there at Gilda's Club day in and day out?
Absolutely. Because we've been here for about 22 years, we've gone through a lot of expansion and growth, and that's come out of the community saying, this is what we need from our Gilda's Club. And so we've been able to work with people to determine what does this look like now? What support is needed? So we say in this together, so that sense of community, learn, share, and laugh. So that sense of community, it's about being together, kind of like how we are today. We're being together, we're learning more about a topic. And this can be a very helpful thing. Some of our members come into Gilda's Club just to learn a little bit more about grief, about cancer. We have doctors, lawyers, nurses come to Gilda's Club and share their expertise, so our members can really learn and have that educational experience. We say share. That is the support group element. So we have groups that range for youth groups. We have Noogie Land for kindergarten and younger. We have an elementary age group, a teen group, a tween group for middle school, high school, as well as the adult support groups that all meet. And generally on our family nights, it's all at the same time, just different rooms because they're all age developmentally appropriate groups. And they're led by professionals who can help make sure we're on topic, we are honoring our time that we have together, and that everybody feels safe and comfortable sharing as they wish. And so that's a really important piece for Gilda's Club, is for our members to feel like they can come as they are and at any point in their journey and share as much or as little as they want to share with others. And so we offer a variety of hybrid experience. We offer virtual experience. We offer, of course, in-person experience. So it's a variety of ways to connect with Gilda's Club and plug into the support when you're ready and at that time that you are interested in learning more and having that grief support available to you.
Don't you guys have some meals at some point too? I know I didn't
We-
have that in the questions.
Yeah, we sure do, Laura. I know, we always like to talk about food. We have wonderful meals, and we are also lucky here in Grand Rapids to have this part of the program. We offer, many times our meals come before the support groups or after workshops, for example. We have yoga, tai chi, different types of workshops that are available to our members. And the Supper Together, bringing in, like Greg was sharing, kind of that personal story. We've walked along many people at Gilda's Club, and it's an honor to do so. It's an honor to be with people who are experiencing cancer or the cancer journey, and also people who are grieving. And our meals together is a great way to have that sense of community and come together. And I've had people tell me, Lindsay, this is the first meal that I've had with other people around me, since my person died. Or, Lindsay, this is the first home-cooked meal I've had, since my person has died. And so that's really an important piece of the program, and it brings a lot of comfort to people. And to be able to have the Supper Together is very intentional part of the program, so people can come in after work, after school, at whatever point in their journey, and just come in for the Supper Together and then go to support groups from there for the grief support or the cancer support.
Great. Can you just talk a little bit about the grief process itself, and is there any typical time frame that you generally see within that process, or is it truly so personal that it's just all over the board?
That's a great question too, Laura. Thank you. The experience of grief we find at Gilda's Club can be so individualized. And we also, both of you spoke to that as well, where one day, you might be feeling happy, and one day you might be feeling sad. One day you might be feeling angry. Another day you might be feeling hopeful. And it's just all the normal processes of our grief. And one of the things that we really work on at Gilda's Club is knowing that we have choices in our grief. We have choices of how we're going to respond. And one thing that we find is very important is to recognize our feelings. And we talk with our kids a lot at Gilda's Club about naming our feelings, recognizing those, and letting ourselves process those feelings when you're ready. So letting yourself experience the emotions that you're having in the grief can be very helpful, painful, and can be helpful to let that process just be, and just to be in those experiences. And knowing that that can help towards the healing and the growth, letting yourself feel the emotions, talking about your sorrow when you're ready and as you're ready, so honoring yourself. If you don't want to talk about it, don't have to talk about it. But if it would be helpful to talk about it, then letting yourself talk with someone who you trust and is a good listener. And we know that some people, a lot of us, when we're talking with someone who's grieving, might not know what to say, or we might say the wrong thing even though we didn't intend to say the wrong thing. And so just kind of knowing that is a part of the process as well. Forgiving yourself for all the things that you believe you should have said or should have done, as you kind of naturally think back on that process. Eating well, exercising. Grief is exhausting. I know Carrie talked about that, that physical toll that it takes on us. So just naming that and finding routines that suit you, taking good care of yourself. That might be taking naps, reading a good book, going for a walk, listening to your favorite music. But just finding new ways and new routines as you're ready to really process that grief, processing those emotions, letting yourself feel the emotions, and finding new routines and new ways to take care of yourself, and getting help when you need that. We have a lot of support here in West Michigan, including Gilda's Club, for grief support once someone has died. We also have a lot of great mental health care here in West Michigan, and we also have great physical health care. And Gilda's Club is kind of that emotional health care space here in West Michigan. And just taking active steps to create a new life for yourself. And that's not easy. And Greg, you spoke to that during your time as well, of just sharing what that's been like for you, and the courage that takes. I have people tell me, Lindsay, you have no idea how hard it is to walk through this door of Gilda's Club or pick up the phone and call Gilda's Club, because we're really acknowledging, that's a huge step to acknowledge our grief and our emotional process. And even just being here today, being present, listening to the speakers up here and having this conversation here at Frederick Meyer Gardens, talking about some of these difficult things to talk about, yet so important for us.
Just want to say, are there specific programs that you have for older adults? And then also, can you just kind of mention quickly for anyone who would want to get more involved in Gilda's Club with volunteerism, how they might do that and find out more?
We would welcome you to learn more about Gilda's Club. We have open, ongoing support groups. We have, as you heard earlier, a lot of volunteer opportunities, because maybe being in a support group isn't for you, but you want to get connected with Gilda's Club, and we have a lot of volunteer opportunities. So you could stop on in. We're over at 1806 Bridge Street, right behind Union High School Service Drive, Northwest Grand Rapids. You could stop in anytime during our hours. You could call us, and our number is 616-453-8300. That's 453-8300. Or go to our website, which is gildasclubgr.org. And those are great ways to learn more. I'll be here after our session as well, so if you had any questions, I'd be glad to talk with you as well. And yes, we have support for all ages and ongoing open support groups and workshops and lectures.
Awesome. And this is just a reminder, too, that on your note-taking sheets on the last page is the contact information for, all these guys for future of finding out more and asking additional questions and connecting.